Hey guys, for today's vlog we traveled here to Berlin, as you can see behind me. And yeah, for my new video I won't be here for the main touristic reason many people go, like for clubbing or shopping, etc. I'm here for another motive. My motive lies elsewhere entirely. But to understand my intentions better, I would like that you see a brief insight into the history of Berlin, so you can understand so you can understand my intentions better, what we want to do here in Berlin. So see you soon.
In May 1945 marked the end of the Third Reich, but it also marked the beginning of a new and bitter chapter in the city's history. Berlin, which had once been the heart of Nazi Germany, was now divided into 4 sectors, each controlled by one of the victorious powers of World War II, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and the Soviet Union. The Cold War was dawning, and the division of Berlin into East and West would come to symbolize the ideological divide between the capitalist West and the communist East. The Berlin Wall, constructed in 1961, would stand as one of the most iconic symbols of this divide, a concrete barrier that not only physically separated the city but also embodied the larger geopolitical struggle between the Soviet bloc and the Western power.
So what we learned in the video is that Berlin 30 years ago was still divided into two complete different worlds, capitalism and communism. And today we want to see how different it is in 3 decades later. How different is it now? How is it after the unity, if we can still distinguish or difference, still see the difference between West and East, you know, maybe the architecture and the daily life of a normal person, how the two complete different sides are today. And yeah, that's the reason for my journey, and I hope you enjoy the video, so stay tuned. So actually the answer to the question why it's located on the west side is more simple than you think, because when the Red Army invaded Berlin, the Russians were here first, you know. They occupied the whole city for a quick moment, I think for a few days or a few months, and they built this immediately after the invasion of Berlin. So yeah. Now let's head to the first signs of a typical Western city or typical high capitalist city. Most major city has their own shopping mall. For example, in Paris it's the Champs-Élysées, in London it's the Oxford Street. Here in Berlin it's the Kurfürstendamm, where wealthy Berliners do their daily shopping. Something interesting here I want to show you. It's an interesting shopping mall that is here on the Kurfürstendamm. We will go there soon, because it's not a shopping mall like others, but it has an interesting history I want to tell you. Let's go. And no, it's not interesting because of the immense size of the shopping mall, of the department store, and not because of the thousands of daily tourists who come here. But the interesting thing is the name, KaDeWe, what stands for Kaufhaus des Westens. But not like you think that this department store was not built during the occupation of the Americans, but actually way before, because the name West, also Kaufhaus des Westens, was to emphasize the exclusive location of the shopping mall, you know, because also before the Cold War and before the occupation of Berlin, the West was a rich location, rich area. And the interesting thing what I want to tell you is that this department store was then used by Americans for propaganda. They used the name departments of the West to symbolize the consumption, the strength, the richness of the West, you know. And yeah, that's the interesting thing about this mall. So we are now here in Berlin-Grunewald. It's the most western point of the city, and it kind of looks like the more western you go, the more richer the area becomes, as you can see yourself. In Grunewald you can find the peakness of richness of Berlin people, you know. Look. Oh, look, this one. Crazy. Look behind the gate. And where can we not better start with the east part? We're not right at the border cross, here at the wall. An interesting building, what you can find also right located after the border cross on the eastern side is the old Czech-Slovak consulate, and as you can see, I think you can notice that this was of course built by the Soviets because of the brutalist architecture. Interesting to see this kind of architecture here in the middle, you know, of Berlin. And there you can find the old Czech-Slovak consulate. Now look how quick the buildings change after we crossed the border. Now we are on the east side in the Soviet part of Berlin, and you can notice it by the buildings also. And here there is a restaurant named Moscow. That's interesting. Moscow Restaurant Cafe. Look, there's a Moscow ice and coffee shop, ice cream. Crazy. Look there it seems like a Russian capital, like it's Moscow. Look, these large buildings, you know, also there, look there, it seems like we're here in a Soviet capital, in a Soviet city. And of course only the Soviets will name a street after their idol, Karl Marx Allee. Karl Marx, for the people who don't know, is the creator with the idea of communism, the manifest, maybe you heard about that. And yeah, also here about the street names, you can notice that we are here in the east side, a complete different city, you know. It seems like a cold Russian Soviet city, but it's actually in Berlin. This is the Karl Marx Allee. Look, the buildings. So we are now a little bit outside of Berlin center because our next stop is a next memorial that the Soviets left behind for us to see their presence here in Berlin. And we're going to see actually a memorial for a German man. This time it's the Soviet and Communist memorial, but for a German, not for a Russian. That's in this park here, I think. Look also here in this quiet park in the middle of a area here outside of Berlin center in the east part. Look how the buildings are. I think we are the only tourists here. Bruh, guys, look here. The memorial is completely destroyed. I think he's not very welcome here, this guy. His name is Ernst Thälmann, and after my research he was a member of the German Communist Party. Look, Ernst Thälmann hält seine Platte and this completely vandalized. This guy here, look how he presents his what do you call it, how he presents his hand. It's the communist sign. And I think you can notice that this is clearly a communist symbol to symbolize the Communist Party, the German Communist Party, Ernst Thälmann. And there's also, you see, there stands his name, and here stands Rot Front. Rot Front is the Red Army, you know, the red border. So, but completely vandalized, and nobody is here besides this guy, but we're the one visiting this memorial. Yeah, not really in every tourist stop in Berlin, but still very interesting for me.